Today we're going to look at a lesson entitled God's Man from 1 Thessalonians. Father's Day gives us an opportunity to examine Christian masculinity and fatherhood. Always a good idea to do that, but especially on Father's Day, because the way the world is today, fatherhood has been under attack for quite a number of years, and now just masculinity is under attack. People are trying to confuse everybody about just about everything so that nobody knows anything for certain. And that's the way that the world does. Again, talk about it in Bible class. Why do we have standards? Because of failures. Why do people want failures? Because they don't like standards. But standards help us to recognize things, understand things. And the Bible gives us some standards. The Bible helps us to recognize some things and helps us to bring what I'm going to talk about tonight is peace and contentment. The Bible helps us to understand why things are like they are and how we can actually have a better life, live a contented life. Well, the biblical example of masculinity pictures a man who knows he is a man, is proud of being a man, but at the same time has a soft and tender heart that is sensitive to others and to the will of God. Okay? Very basic, very simple, and we're going to use the Apostle Paul as an example of this. And some people don't like the Apostle Paul. Say, "Oh, he was so mean. He just terrible person." Others say, "Well, he's the apostle of grace." Well, why can't they seem to pull it together and get a picture of the true man, the Apostle Paul? Because they don't want to. They want to pick out this or that and go by what they want, rather than looking at what God desires for the entire person, the entire man. This is God's man, what I mentioned earlier. This is what a Christian father ought to be. And Paul, the Apostle Paul, expressed 5 traits that should be in every Christian man, and every father's personality. Not just Christians, but every father's personality. All right, what are they? Number 1, God's man expresses genuine love. And I say genuine love. There's a love out there that's not genuine. Okay? There's a love, and a lot of people know it, and a lot of people understand it. It's when someone is beating on them and saying, "I love you." Now, maybe a husband's beating on a wife is like, "I'm beating on you because I love you," or a parent's beating on a child, "I'm doing this because I love you." And that's not genuine love. A genuine love. Now, punishment, corporal punishment, I think can be a good thing, but it has to be in proper proportions, in all types of manner. But we're talking about a genuine love. And we're talking about the love that God had. John 3:16, for God so loved the world. Now, when it's talking about the world there, it's talking about all human beings. God loved everybody. God loves everybody. Okay, with the same type of love. God wants to give everybody the same opportunity to have a relationship with Him. It's up to the individuals. But God's done everything in His power to make that possible by sending His only begotten Son to die upon the cross, and secondly, by giving us the information we need in the Scriptures to know how to have that right relationship with Him. But the expression of love is what we're dealing with here. Look at what Paul says. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8, the very first part of that, he says, "So, being affectionately desirous of you." This is the people of Thessalonica. These are people of Macedonia. The ancient Greece, it was divided into two parts, really. Macedonia, the northern part, Achaia, where Corinth was, the southern part. Macedonia was up there where Philippi, Thessalonica, Berea. Okay? These people had accepted Christianity, and he's writing to them, and he's talking to them, I have a genuine affection for you. So being affectionately desirous of you, and he's writing to them. They've got questions they're asking him, and he's writing to them and he's explaining things to them because he genuinely loves them. Okay? It's like a fatherly love. In the Greek, there are several different words that are translated love in the English language, and one of them is storge. Storge, S-T-O-R-G-E, becomes an A, but it's like the family affection, the affection that a father should have for his children. And that's what he's talking about here. Expressing love does not come natural for most men. Why? Because we're kind of taught not to do it. Okay, so God made women mothers. It's like natural for most women, right? Mothers seem to instinctively know how to meet the child's needs, support the baby's neck, and be careful of the soft spot, right? Yeah, mamas just know that, I think. They know when feeding time is, right? They know when changing time is. They know playtime, sleep time, all those things. Give a father a baby, and what happens? It's like giving Superman kryptonite. Yeah, it just falls apart. Okay? Men don't understand this stuff until the baby starts talking and says, "Hey, this is what I need." The baby could say, "I need my bottle now, please." Your dad would know what to do. The mama knows. We enjoy holding our children. We enjoy expressing love to them, but just understanding them, and when they get to be teenagers, it gets even worse. No. It can't. When they become teenagers, everything changes, though, right? Remember the comic in the comic strips, For Better or Worse? Usually it was one panel, sometimes it'd be 2 or 3. I remember one, there was 4 panels in it, okay? And it was a dad, and he comes into the room where the teenage daughter is sitting on the couch with a bowl of popcorn watching TV. And he sits down beside her and starts taking her popcorn. And she's kind of, and he's thinking, I remember when she was just a baby. I used to hold her and cuddle her and kiss her and talk to her. Man, if I do that now, she'd probably just say, "Get away from me, leave me be, stop that, Dad." But you see it in the balloon there, right? Nah, she'd never go for anything like that now. And all the time, the daughter's thinking, "I wonder why Dad doesn't hug me, kiss me, talk to me." See, I've known women who wonder, what if my dad quit taking hugs from me, or quit hugging me when I got to be about 7 or 8 years old? Why didn't my dad show any affection? And young men can be like that too. Why? And you start, we're not trained like that. I remember one time I was preaching a sermon talking about it, this a few years ago in Amarillo, and talking about, why don't we kiss our grown-up sons? Just grab them, kiss them on the lips. Got a lot of strange looks. Think about it. Foreign countries, it's done all the time. And even strangers, you kiss them on each of the cheeks or whatever. Well, that was like a morning sermon, the evening sermon, we come together for worship, and one guy, Bobby, he comes to me and says, guess what I did, Fred? He kissed his son on the lips. Son about fainted. But it was like, didn't kill me. It was like an attachment to his son. Because there was some genuine affection that was shown there. All those, see, our children need that genuine affection, and they need to see it from us. They need to experience it, so that they can pass it on to their children also. It was because of Jeremy's autism. It probably wasn't until he was, 9-10 years old before he would say, I love you. Now he'll tell us 10-12 times a day. And I don't mind. God's man lives a transparent life. Transparent life. Look at that second part of verse 8. We were ready to share with you not only the gospel of God, but also our own selves, because you have become very dear to us. It's one thing to share the gospel with somebody. It's a totally different thing to become part of somebody's life. And I know that in many ways I fail in this area with others, because I've been almost conditioned not to trust people with some of the experiences that I've been through the last few years. But I'm rebuilding. I'm trying. If you're a Christian father, then your kids ought to know that you're a Christian by the way that you live your life. They ought to know it. It's just not about going to church. It is a way of life. What is, and we talked about that, the holiness of God. The holiness of God is because of his entire character, everything about him. There's nothing about him that isn't set apart from everything that he has created. Okay? He created everything good, but it's been co-opted by the evil one. Do we have a dual persona? Are we one way at church and a different way at home? Are we a different way at work? Are we different? Or are we transparent? Are we trying to cover something up? Are we hiding something? Well, we ought to know that our children ought to know it by the way that we live our lives, by the decisions that we make on a day-by-day basis. What about all the things that we cherish, the things that are important to us? Our family is important to us as material things. Our child accidentally puts a scratch on the car. What do? How do we react? A non-believer values pleasure, power, prestige, and possessions. Christians value spiritual things. Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23 talks about those spiritual things. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. And those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Learn to value what is important. The spiritual things are important. Listen, somebody else's spirit, somebody else's soul is just as valuable as my soul, and my soul is more valuable than anything in the world. Matthew chapter 16, see? So a Christian father brings values into his children's life. What are we teaching our children? What's this, number 3? God's man exhibits an unselfish diligence. What's a selfish diligence? That's somebody who's out for his own, and he's really, the diligence is kind of like the baseball player who's got, remember when you used to have to break in your ball gloves? Had to get the breaking in oil, you had to sit there, give it that number, break it in, soften it up so it reflects. Well, that's kind of what diligence is. And a selfish diligence is, I'm after what I want, it's all about me. But an unselfish diligence is someone who's out there looking out for others, helping others, being kind to others. Listen to what Paul writes, verse 9. For you remember, brothers, our labor and toil, we worked night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you, while we proclaim to you the gospel of God. So Paul says, I didn't want to be a burden to you, so we worked. And that worked out all right for these people. Remember the story? Remember what Paul was telling the church at Corinth? Hey, those people up in Macedonia, Philippi, and Thessalonica, and Berea, this collection for the poor saints, these people were ready. Those poor people, those people who didn't have much of anything, they were ready. They wanted to help. They got this whole thing started. And you rich people down in Corinth, you better get your act together. I want you to have all this stuff collected and ready for me so that there be no collection when I come. Who was being selfish? Who was being unselfish? Well, the church at Thessalonica, Berea, Philippi, those people had an unselfish diligence. Where did they learn that from? They learned it from the Apostle Paul, didn't they? All right? Now, the people at Corinth had the same teacher. They didn't learn the lesson, did they? They were still concentrating on their own selfish desires. Well, we have a responsibility to teach a good work ethic to our children. And they learn by example. Okay? It's just not all just teach them about it. They learn by the example, so they should see in us an example of the labors that we have. And not just the labor out here in the community, but the labor in the church also. It's both church and secular. Again, the Macedonians were so poor. Paul, Silas, and Timothy labored along with them. That was the unselfish nature of their work, who demonstrated that they were willing to do it, to help them out. So children learn by doing. I love those pictures on Facebook. Here's some kids out in the hayfield. This was, what's that site on Facebook where you take up donations for people?
GoFundMe?
Yeah, this is GoFundMe when I was a child. Working the hayfield or whatever, doing this or that, because mom and dad, you didn't go out, you have a GoFundMe page. I remember being about 6, 7 years old, my first ball glove, I paid for it by planting pine trees for a penny a piece. A penny a tree. And that first ball glove was a dinky little thing. It wasn't even $7. So I had to plant about 700 pine trees. Buy that ball glove. That was GoFundMe. So we need to give our children the opportunity to do things, give them the opportunity to do things on their own. Well, just going to have to learn to take care of themselves later, so that they can pay their Social Security so I can draw my benefits later. It's my selfish stuff there. Okay. We need to allow them to learn. And even if it's learning by making some mistakes. Sometimes we learn more by making mistakes than what we do by watching somebody do something. Number 4. God's man possesses a genuine spirituality. Genuine spirituality. The older I get, I can spot fake spirituality as quick as a child can. And children can spot hypocrites real quick, can't they? They know. But I'm getting to that. Maybe it's my second childhood coming. Nah, I never got out of the first one. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 10. You are witnesses, and God also, how holy and righteous and blameless was our conduct toward you believers. Genuine spirituality. Paul says, check it out. We just didn't say, oh, look at me, look how spiritual I am. Paul said, proof's in the pudding, right? Proof's in the pudding. Look at it. Examine the life. The father's spiritual responsibility is to show that Christianity is not just a Sunday burden, it's an everyday work of life. The Bible needs to be seen open. God's Word needs to be seen honored every day, and God honored also. Faith must be an overflowing fountain that shares the good things of God with others. I've shared with you that example, that illustration of the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea, the difference between the two. Have I shared that with you? The Sea of Galilee is living alive because water from Mount Hermon comes down. The upper Jordan River flows into it, fills it up, and it overflows. The Jordan River takes that water down to the Dead Sea. And when it gets down there, that's where the water stays, and it just evaporates. And it's dead. There's no life in the Dead Sea. The Sea of Galilee is alive, it's teeming with fish because it gives. It receives, but it gives. But the Sea of Galilee, the Dead Sea gives nothing. It's dead. That's a beautiful illustration. And that's the way our lives can be. Our lives can be spiritually dead because we don't give. We don't have any genuine spirituality if it's all about us. The claim to being a child of God must not be diminished by ungodly activities. Prayer life can form the basis of what's called the family chapel. Our life must exhibit in all areas of life the reality of God. You don't have to be walking around shouting hallelujah and praise the Lord all the time. But people need to know that you believe in God. And sometimes it's a matter of what you just won't put up with. So our journey to heaven must be an open invitation for everyone to join us for eternity. We don't want to close anybody off. It's an invitation. Hey, here's a good life. Come back this evening and listen to the lesson on contentment. Number 5, God's man exerts a positive influence. If you want a negative influence, turn on the TV. You get plenty of negative influence there. Positive influence, we need a lot of that. And if we're not going to get it from our fathers, from the home, it's going to be sadly missing. We're not going to get it in school systems. I'm sorry. There's some good teachers around. I've got to say that because but I'm sure there's some good influence there. And I've got a daughter who's a teacher. But yet, school systems overall, no, it doesn't work that way. 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 11 and 12. For you know how, like a father with his children, we exhorted each one of you and encouraged you and charged you to walk in a manner worthy of God, who calls you into his own kingdom and glory. Positive influence. Come on, make the journey. Here we are. You know, what you got to lose? Pascal's wager, right? Think about it. You know, if I give up everything in the world, you know, and there ends up being no God and no judgment, what have I lost? Nothing. But if I don't honor God and there ends up being a God, what have I lost? Everything. Everything. So, yeah, come on. Here's a good life. This world is full of negative influences that will test your children's mettle, their character. It'll try to establish in your children attitudes that are detrimental to their lives, to their livelihoods. Home and family and church need to be safe havens where all people, children included, can experience the fruit of the Spirit. We talked about that before. Experience it, learn how to practice it. And the Christian father encourages, comforts, and makes it possible for the children to live lives worthy of the children of God. We call them our children, right? They're just on loan. They're really God's people. We're being tested in how we bring them to the glory. So we'll end up with 3 facts here. Okay? Christian model of fatherhood affords both father and child the optimal opportunity for a blessed lifestyle. All right? And here are those 3 facts. No, these are, let me go back here. I got them separated out. There. The Christian model of fatherhood affords both father and child the optimal opportunity for a blessed lifestyle. Fact number 1. Okay? Fact number 2. Come on. There's not a person alive who does not wish they had a better relationship with their father. I've not found anyone yet who says, yeah, it's so perfect, I wouldn't change anything. I know with my own father, I wish there were some things that were different. I wish I'd have done a lot of things different. Okay? I wish he'd done some things different. But I wish I'd have done some things different. I think maybe you feel the same way. Fact number 3. It's never too late while we still have life on this earth for a father to pursue the Christian model of masculinity and love. Never too late. Doesn't matter how old your children are, try to model that influence in front of them. I run out of slides. I got a minute left. But now I don't. Thank you for your time, your attention. I appreciate it ever so much. Thank you so much for being here today. If you have any lecture requests or comments, we stay and send you.